So, hey boys and girls, how's everybody doing? Q here. Well, there she is, the 401 Svartpilen by Husqvarna. And, she's back from the shop. She had an oil leak when I first got it. I had it for about 4 days. And then they took it back and they had it for about a week. But it was leaking out of this front oil plug. It's very hard to see down here. But there's an oil plug right there. I don't know if you can see where my finger's pointing, right there. That was the one that was leaking. There's another bigger oil plug here. Those are drains, and they have little filters in them as well. There's this. I don't think that's the oil filler, though. That must be transmission fluid, because over on this side, you have the oil filler plug and you have the sight glass. So it's got oil in it. It's got adjustable suspension. I've never had adjustable suspension before, but we've got preload and compression on the front and the same on the rear. So to set these turns out to be very easy. You just turn them clockwise all the way. And then they said, what was it? 15 clicks anti-clockwise, or 10 clicks anti-clockwise made like for racing. 15 was normal, and then 20 was soft if you want a more comfortable ride. And whatever you do to the left one, you also do to the right one. And then in the back here, you've got kind of the standard spring here. It's got this you need the tool to adjust this compression, and that should be on a 5. It says pretty much all the time. And then down here you've got this little screw, and that's the same thing as those adjusters up there, except screwdriver. So clockwise all the way, and then 10, 15, 20 to match what you've done on the front. So I've got all three at 17, and I have this at its standard 5 setting, I believe it is. And I'm very, very happy with the ride. Pay no attention to all this stuff I do with seats. I'm always messing around with seats to see if I can get them to be more comfortable. But the stock seat on the Svartpilen is pretty good. It's pretty comfortable for what it is, for what you might expect. I just like to play around with those things. Also, if I raise that seat up a little bit, I get a little bit more leg room. So I'm delighted with this bike. This is the most fun motorcycle I have ever owned. And because it's a scrambler, the road turns to dirt, I just keep on going. Oh, by the way, this came with a skid plate, but the skid plate has to come off to change the oil. By the way, there's your main oil filter right there. But the skid plate has to come off to get to those drain plugs. I took it off, I just left it off because I'll be changing my own oil. And I'm not going to go down any trails with rocks where I expect to ground this thing out. This is for pavement and graded dirt roads only, because that's the only thing I'm interested in riding on. I'm just not interested in riding on anything more heinous than that. As you can see, I've got some aftermarket mirrors on here. The stock mirrors are these big Mickey Mouse round things. They worked poorly. They looked awful. So these are just some mirrors I had lying around. I've got some cheap Chinese bar end mirrors on the way. They'll be here in a couple weeks from China. This is from China, this little Flyscreen. Very cheap, like, $30. And you can feel the quality's not so great, but it works. And it's very easy to install. It just goes into a couple of bolts here that hold the headlight on, and I just did them one at a time so I wouldn't lose the angle of the headlight. Headlight's beautiful, by the way. Tires are great, these Pirelli Scorpions. I mean, to get WP suspension, Pirelli Scorpion tires, this little gem of a motor pumping out over 40 horsepower on a 330-pound motorcycle. 40 horsepower on a 330-pound motorcycle, those are magic numbers. That means this bike goes. and it gets ridiculously good gas mileage, and it's smooth. It's so happy at 6,000 RPM. It just wants to sail along at 6,000 RPM. Now I have this cheap tail pack here. Somebody just asked for it. I bought this so long ago. I don't even know if this is AliExpress or Amazon. It's one of the two. It doesn't hold much because of this slope. I can barely stuff some gloves in there, so I really don't recommend this, but I had it laying around and I'm trying to save a few bucks, so I've got gloves and, you know, registration and insurance in there. That's about it. What else can I tell you? Oh, one major upgrade. I put the Fuel-X Lite tuner in here, and that I highly recommend. I've got the Fuel-X Lite. So what it does is it's right in here. It's just it just clips in between your O2 sensors. Easiest thing to install ever. You just take off the seat. You've got the unit up here. You just put the unit under the seat, a couple tie strips or some tape or something to keep it from rattling around. Feed the cable down. Take this cover off, unplug the two plugs. One plug goes into one side of the Fuel-X, the other goes into the other side of the Fuel-X, and you're done. Well, you're not quite done. Then what you need to do is you need to run the motorcycle without touching the throttle. You want to run it for about 15 minutes. I've heard 10 minutes, I've heard 15 minutes. Let it idle for about 15 minutes without touching it, and then turn it off. And what that does is it allows the onboard ECU of the motorcycle to tune itself to understand, you know, what the right fuel mixture should be. The Fuel-X is going to keep a constant fuel mixture, and the reason why you need it is because of emissions. Because of these emissions standards, Euro 4, Euro 23, whatever they're up to, they ship these bikes very, very lean, which means that they're programmed to give just enough fuel so that the bike doesn't stall out. But that means that the fuel to air mixture is very lean. There's very little fuel for the air. So what the Fuel-X Lite does is it just compensates, it just puts it back to what you would expect as a normal. I heard something like a 14-to-1 ratio, and it just maintains that. And I don't have to program it. I don't have to download maps. I don't have to do anything. But that leanness, that jerkiness that I was getting at low RPMs, that is gone. So it's just, I highly recommend that. And it was only like 150 bucks. Whereas if you get the full Fuel-X, I think it's at least twice that much money, and you got to program it. And God bless you, if you can do all that stuff, do it. But that's more involved than I want to get. So I think that's a pretty good overview of where I'm at with this thing right now. I really am in no hurry at all to change that muffler. It's got a nice sound, and it is quiet, and I like quiet. You know, I live in a neighborhood here, as you can see. And the less I piss people off, the happier everybody, including me, is. So, I mean, that little muffler, it's not like it's some heavy monstrosity that I need to replace to save weight. I'm happy with it, you know? And with the Fuel-X, everything is adjusted properly. At some point, maybe I'll put some, you know, other pipe on there, and I'll go DNA or K&N air filter, you know, eke out another horsepower, maybe. At some point, I might want to take this whole tail thing off and move the license plate up here. But it's not that simple, because first of all, you're going to have to move the light, which is required by law. So there's the cable here, the electrical cable. You're going to have to route that up here and mount this somehow. And the other thing is, you basically have no rear fender. And I do take this down dirt roads. So if I hit any mud or puddles or even just dirt, it's all going to spew right up on my back, unless I come up with something else. So again, I'll probably just leave it, you know, 330 pounds, 340 pounds wet. This thing does not need a whole lot of weight reduction. So there you go, guys. I've had at least 24 motorcycles. I've got currently I've got the BMW R18, which is still such an elegant machine, and that motor's amazing. And And I have this Royal Enfield Interceptor 650 with a chrome tank. It's one of the most beautiful machines. Every time I take this out, people say, what is that? You know, what year is that? It's just a gorgeous, gorgeous motorcycle. But fun. This is the most fun motorcycle I've ever owned in my life. And it's inexpensive, and inexpensive to buy, inexpensive to own and run. And it is a ball. So that's it, boys and girls. Thanks for watching. I'm going for a ride.